Which brings us to the second thing that's very common in BPD relationships, which is the feeling of mixed signals. Well, kind of like a pendulum, this kind of comes down to this fear of abandonment. So sometimes what happens when people have BPD is when they're engaged in a relationship, what's going to happen is like things are going pretty well and y'all are having lots of fun, but in the back of their mind, they've been abandoned so much in the past, right? Because they got abandoned as kids. So there's like that seat of trauma back there. And then they've had so many relationships which were so amazing. And how did those relationships always end up? The other person always ended up leaving, right? Because like they couldn't deal with the crazy. So they left. And so each time someone can't deal with the crazy, it traumatizes them further, increases the fear of abandonment. So now what they know, they're going to try to protect themselves and they're going to try to protect you. And the way that they're going to do that is when things are good, they're going to start to, when is the other shoe going to drop? When are things going to go back to the way that they always end up? Because remember, it happens 7 times, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times. So it's got to happen 11th time, right? So then what they'll start to do is they'll start to push you away. And they'll start to test you, right? They'll start to say things that will feel a little bit weird. It'll feel really emotionally manipulative. And all this emotional manipulation, by the way, is pretty unconscious. So that's like something you got to give them a pass for if you can. So they'll start to like do things like, oh yeah, I know that this week has really been fantastic and I know that we're deeply in love, but I know it won't last. They'll say something like that. And you'll be like, no, baby. Like, of course it'll last. Like, no, don't think that. Like, I'll be here for you forever. And they'll say, no, you won't. You're just saying that today, but tomorrow it'll change, right? No relationships last forever. And you're like, no, baby, no. And so then you reassure them. So let's think about what's happening in that moment. Remember that they have difficulty regulating their own emotions. So what they rely on is you to regulate their emotions. So you become the mechanism of their emotional equilibrium. So if I'm feeling abandoned, I'm going to be a little bit pathetic. You won't love me forever. And then what do I evoke in you? What I evoke in you is, no, baby, I'll be around forever. Like, I love you forever. Oh my God, you're the one for me. And then the fear of abandonment goes away, right? That's great. You fixed the problem. It's beautiful. And now, though, something subtle has happened. So now you start to bear the emotional burden of their roller coaster. You're not only managing your own roller coaster, now they have made you responsible for their roller coaster. And you've been a willing recipient. And so then what happens is they'll start to push you away, right? They'll say it the first time, you're like, yeah, baby, I love you forever, babe. And then a week goes by and they're like, oh yeah, you're going to break up with me. I'm like, no, I won't. And then a month later, they're saying it again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And it can manifest in other ways too. But they start to push you away, start to do things that kind of piss you off. They start to pick fights. And then you're like, fine, you want me to leave? I'll leave. And so you get fed up and you walk the door. Now all of their fears have become true. And so then what they do is they activate a completely different circuit, which is reeling you in. So now that they are actually being abandoned, there's the fear of abandonment, and then there's the actual abandonment.